Dominick Guinn. Well, in the words of Howard Cosell, James Toney is truculent. One of the more colorful and bombastic fighters of the last 20 years. Even when Toney was struggling on the scales at middleweight and super middleweight, it was difficult to envision him as growing into a player in the heavyweight division. But his career as a heavyweight has been marked by victories followed by setbacks. Now at 37, Toney starts again. Al Bernstein spoke with the ageless contender.
James, since you became a heavyweight, it's kind of been 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. A lot of things have happened.
Yeah.
Back in 2003, when you stepped in against Evander Holyfield, when you stopped him in the 9th round, can you remember exactly how you felt at that moment?
Yeah, I told you. Someone I Holyfield out. You guys looked at me like, okay. And what happened? He didn't pay his electric bill, and his lights went out that night. You know what I'm saying?
That win vaulted you immediately toward the top of the heavyweight division. Did you say to yourself then, world's my oyster, it's all going to be smooth sailing?
Yeah, the world is mine. They better back up. I'm coming.
But instead of gathering momentum, a training injury brought his career to an abrupt halt.
After that Holyfield fight, and you had that Achilles injury, which was a very bad break for you, how did you keep yourself mentally strong during that time?
I'm hard-headed, man. I'm very hard-headed. You know, for a second, yeah, it got to me for a second, but then after the cast came off and I was able to start getting mobile with it again, I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this.
After almost a year, Toney returned to the ring for a tune-up against undefeated Rydell Booker. But once again, he was plagued by an injury. This time, a bicep and tricep tear.
Left hook in the first round, snapped both of them. You know, I couldn't stop it. You know, it's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing, because I went 11 rounds with the arms like it was. It was painful as hell, but you know, I told you, I'm hard-headed. I don't know when to quit.
What medication did you take for that shoulder injury then after when you were rehabbing, getting back?
Well, I was taking, we started prednisolone, and to help heal the muscles for the kind of bicep tricep tear, and I put a cadaver in there. It's the healing process.
Last April, with the shoulder still healing, Toney beat John Ruiz for the WBA heavyweight title.
Toney fulfilling a dream of becoming a heavyweight champion!
My arm was still bothering me. But, you know, hey, I did what I had to do. I beat him with one arm, and I won. Hands down, fair and square.
But his celebration was short-lived. For less than 2 weeks later, the New York State Athletic Commission suspended Toney and stripped him of his title for taking an illegal substance. Toney steadfastly maintains he took a prescribed medication to treat his injury and not to enhance his performance.
When the controversy happened after that and they alleged that you were using a performance-enhancing drug.
I was on steroids and man, I put a lot of companies out of business the way my body was looking. I'm serious. I was looking terrible.
Is there a certain amount of resentment over the whole process, or do you have to kind of put that beside?
You know, it don't matter to me. You know, everybody know I'm the people's champ. Hey, I'm just having fun. I'm ready to go ahead and get the rest of the belts, and then after I get the rest of the belts, throw them in the trash can. You know, a belt don't define James Toney. It's supposed to be the fighter make the belt, not the belt make the fighter. Yeah. People got it twisted here.
Do you feel like you just turned 37?
I just turned 27.
Well, up here. You don't feel like time's running out, there's a time issue?
I'm looking forward to bigger and better things, and whatever happens, happens. But you know what? Ain't nobody in the heavyweight division gonna beat me. Nobody. Nobody. Nobody.
He's really got to learn to open up some more. Ever since he won his first major world title 14 years ago, James Toney has proven that he can talk. And yes, he can back up that talk. But if added weight hasn't slowed him, injuries and that positive test for steroids surely have. Tonight he attempts to regain momentum. But Al, can he climb back to the top one more time?
You know, it seems implausible, doesn't it, that Toney, who hasn't lost a boxing match in 8 years, is trying to regain momentum. But he is, and to do that, he needs to be healthy. And he appears to be 100% physically fit for this match. Now, Toney is a defensive genius, and he's a superb counterpuncher. And it takes a very consistent effort to beat him. And consistency has been pretty elusive for Dominick Guinn. Now, he's had flashes of excellence, reminding us why we're all so excited about him as a pro prospect after he had a storied amateur career. But he's come up just short in his important fights. Lack of focus and conditioning have hampered him, and so his blueprint for success tonight requires both those elements. Part of the focus is to remember to work the body against the 37-year-old Toney, especially early. Guinn says he averaged 90 punches per round in sparring. A good work rate is essential. To beat Toney, you have to at some point land left hands. Guinn is not by nature a left hook artist, but if he throws his favorite jab right hand combination and does it quickly, it could set up the left hook. But once he throws this punch, he can expect a counter from Toney. Slipping this counter shot would make this scenario perfect for Guinn. James Toney is a master at disrupting game plans, and Guinn has been easily distracted in the past. In the center of the ring, Toney won't get hit to the body as much, or anyplace else for that matter. Toney is a superb counterpuncher, and the right-hand counter could be an important tool tonight. Guinn will throw the same 1-2 combination that John Ruiz did. And Guinn has a habit of falling in with his head. That's when Toney can nail him with the counter right hand. This is a big danger for Dominick Guinn tonight.
Well, despite being all but written off at age 30, which is young for a heavyweight these days, Dominick Guinn hoping to become the most famous person from Hot Springs, Arkansas since Bill Clinton. Guinn, who admits he's never watched James Toney live or on TV, which is mind-boggling, burst onto the scene after a stellar amateur career, looked spectacular early on as a pro, heralded as the next great American heavyweight, then almost overnight, a total about-face, and it began in his own home state of Arkansas, an awful loss to Monty Barrett, and it happened in the ring walk. He's 1-2-1 in his last 4. But Al, now he's got Joe Guinn, a quick fix trainer, seems genuinely motivated, but is he taking on too much too soon?
Well, you alluded to the Monty Barrett fight, and you alluded to the ring walk. We see him right now coming in. That was in his own hometown. The moment got the better of him with an adoring crowd cheering. He lost his focus. Tonight, what he can't let make him lose his focus, and that's Joe Guinn on the left of him, is facing his biggest challenge, and make no mistake, James Toney is his biggest challenge.
And he better bring his A game against Toney, that's for sure. You saw Joe Guinn. What a scenario. It's brother against brother tonight. Joe Guinn trains Guinn. Joe's brother Dan promotes Toney. Joe's become one of the best trainers in the business, and if Guinn upsets Toney tonight, it would be utterly devastating. A tremendous blow to Dan Guinn, since Toney is his franchise player.
Yeah, this is almost an unprecedented situation, but if anybody can handle it, I guess those two can.
But so much depends on which Dominick Guinn shows up tonight. The Guinn who dismantled Michael Grant, or the Guinn who literally froze against Monty Barrett. And the supremely confident, outspoken, at times quite humorous James Lights Out Toney returning to the ring for the first time since the debacle following the John Ruiz fight 6 months ago. He told us he feels good, but admitted he did have a little problem with his right hand in training, but no excuses, he said. He said, hey, I fought Ruiz with one arm. He may be the most relaxed fighter you'll ever see. One of the true characters in the sport. Always good for a snappy quote. He summed up his thoughts succinctly tonight. He's hungry, I'm starving.
Hey, you know what? Let's say one great thing already for James Toney. He's gotten to the ring quicker than any of the other 3 fighters. Maybe that shows a certain aggression, which we'd like to see.
Well, he's out to prove something, because in his mind, they took the heavyweight belt away from him, and he wants to show that he does not need the drugs. Toney's something else. He says, you know what, the heavyweight division is terrible. Aside from me, of course. He just says everybody's ducking him. All right, let's check the numbers as we go to the tail of the tape from Reno. And the figures pretty much favor Dominick Guinn at 30. He's 7 years younger than Toney. He has the 3.5-inch height advantage and a 5-inch edge in reach. But Toney outweighed Guinn at yesterday's proceedings by 14 pounds, a career heaviest, 235. And the notable rules for this fringe title fight: no standing 8 count, No 3 knockdown rule. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. If an accidental headbutt occurs before the end of the 4th round, fight's ruled a no decision. If it happens after the end of round 4, they go to the scorecards. So here at the event center in Reno, we are getting ready for our main event. James Lights Out Toney versus Dominick Guinn, heavyweight, scheduled for 12. Let's get the official introductions from our ring announcer, the classy Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you and welcome to the Reno Event Center here in the beautiful city of Reno, Nevada, as it's time for the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Gary Shaw Productions in association with Goose and Tudor Promotions, Don King Productions, and Showtime. This bout coming away is sanctioned by the IBA Supervisor Norm Longton, along with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Skip Avancino Jr., commissioners Dr. Tony Alamo, John Bailey, Joe W. Brown, and Dr. Flip Omansky, with the executive director Mark Ratner. Our physicians at ringside, Dr. Todd Chapman, Dr. Damon Savala, Dr. James Game, and Dr. William Berliner. Timekeeper at the bell, Jim Carpenter. Keeping count of the knockdowns, Rose Fain. Introducing to you our 3 judges, scoring this bout from ringside. From Carson City, Nevada, Keith McDonald. From Las Vegas, Nevada, Dalby Shirley. And also from Las Vegas, we have Paul Smith. And introducing our 3rd man to the ring, the referee in charge of this bout from Las Vegas, Jay Nady. All right, fans, here we go with our main event of the evening, a heavyweight special attraction, scheduled 12 rounds of boxing for the IBA Heavyweight Championship. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance, and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Reno, Nevada, it's showtime! Introducing to you first on my right, he is fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trunks, originally from Hot Springs, Arkansas, now fighting out of Houston, Texas. He weighed in at 221 pounds with a record of 25 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. He has 18 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Southern Disaster, Dominick Guinn. And his opponent across the ring, ready to go on my left, fighting out of the red corner, wearing purple trunks with white trim, fighting out of Sherman Oaks, California. He weighed in at 235 pounds. His record includes 68 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws, 1 no decision, with 43 big wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the all-time greats, the former IBF middleweight, super middleweight, and cruiserweight champion of the world, introducing the IBA heavyweight champion, James Lights Out Toney. Once again, a referee in charge, Jay Nady, now to give instructions. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled.
12 rounds. I want you to obey my commands. Now, don't forget, when I say stop, I mean stop, all right? Keep your punches up. Any questions? Touch gloves now, let's go to work. Thank you. Don't touch gloves. Okay, don't touch gloves. Hey, you guys got to wear those things over your head.
Jay Nady with quite a sense of humor. And no, they are not friends. Not too many people are, not too many boxers are. To this man, one of the hardest things in the sport is to hit James Toney.
Jay Nady will be here all week.
Yeah, don't forget to tip your waitress. Dominick Guinn An ultra-confident, extremely hungry Guinn said he feels good, plan to come out and fight. He'll do whatever it takes. He said you'll see a different Dominick Guinn, a guy who in the past has been criticized for being languid, lackluster, not busy enough, frustrating to watch, like there's a missing ingredient. And, of course, James Toney has his own ideas, wearing the very intriguing purple trunks and the red trunks of Dominick Guinn.
You know, when we saw James Toney the other day at his shirt on, we actually thought he was a little trimmer. He weighed in at the highest weight he's ever weighed in at. Now, he is never going to look like Charles Atlas, that's for sure.
Or you.
Or Charles Atlas. But nevertheless, he's carrying a little extra weight.
Yeah, he was carrying that weight against Ruiz, and he looked very physically solid against Rydell Booker.
And yet against Ruiz did not, was still active at the end. Now, James Toney himself is for the most part a counterpuncher, but we see him, as he has been lately, staying in the center of the ring, kind of coming after fighters. Now, for Dominick Guinn, it is all about work rate. In sparring, he said he averaged 90 punches around. He doesn't expect to average that in this fight. But as he points out, if I go back to averaging 30 like I used to, I'm in big trouble. And here's where Guinn needs to be active. You see the counter right from Toney. That's something he wants to land a lot tonight.
Toney was a 200-pound high school quarterback, went down to middleweight to start his fight career. He's skillful, he's tough, loves to fight. He's not a fast starter. He's a builder. He accumulates, breaks people down slowly.
There's the left hook from Dominick Guinn. You must throw that punch against James Toney. It's the one punch you can be assured you have at least a chance to land against him. It's tougher to land a straight right, although that one almost got there.
And Toney, as you pointed out earlier, tremendous counter puncher. He's got a very good chin. He's a consummate pro. Kind of slides into his rhythm in the early going, eventually gets into a faster pace.
Now on the inside, Dominick, which I don't know if Dominick Guinn wants to be there a lot. He's not that active. His height and reach and his jab and his straight right make the outside a little better for him.
As we come down to the stretch of the round, we'll look to see if Toney looks to rally late and steal the round, which is something he is very famous for.
Which, by the way, we saw Chris Bird do often in the previous fight, a fight that had a lot of inactivity during the course of the round.
Well, we've already had more action here in the first 2.5 minutes than most of that first fight. But Toney can lull you and then jump on you. He did that with John Ruiz. He can play possum, and defensively, one of the best.
Stop.
We mentioned old school. They call him, sometimes they call him the mongoose.
Saw Guinn feint with the jab, and then he was able to get something in after it.
Time! Thank you.
The family of Dominick Guinn, wife and sister Monique Breland Guinn, no relation to Mark Breland, Dominique the sister.
He's dipping. When you're throwing your jab, he's going to dip, okay? And he's going to slide under that right hand. You got to go with that left uppercut off that jab, okay? And then a right hand, all right? So you got to go right from there and pick up his head because he's really dipping it low there. He's getting under your punches. You got to go to the body, even from the outside a little bit. You got to sneak some body in on it. Now you see, if you throw that right hand and stay out there, he's going to come back with that short one. Okay? So make sure you give him a few feints, and then get off your punches a little bit. Okay? Use your jab a little bit more. Use a little bit of distance. Start closing the gap. And start using both hands now. Let's go.
Start of a busy week for Joe Goossen, of course, is the co-pilot for Diego Corrales. A week from tonight against Jose Luis Castillo in the big rematch that you can see on Showtime pay-per-view. He only joined Guinn about a month ago, replacing Ronnie Shields and Mark Breland.
And they had no idea he'd end up fighting James Toney, who was promoted by his brother. But then when the fight came up, they said yes. Now, James Toney used to fight off the ropes a lot. I mean, I did so many of his fights as a middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight. And he used to back himself against the ropes and counter punch. He's a different boxer now. He stays in the center of the ring. He's more active, ironically, as heavyweight. Nice hooks by Guinn. If he can get that punch in this fight, let me tell you something. That gives him a great chance for victory. It's not his most prominent punch. But again, you need it against Toney.
Well, at his best, Guinn, extremely fast hands. but has to put them together.
He's got skills. And look at him. He's working well on the inside, and now Toney comes back.
Somebody said he doesn't know how talented he is. That's part of the problem.
That's a very good statement, Steve. It's really true, and sometimes that's true of people.
But he's so much more of a threat when he throws combinations. Nice uppercut on the inside by Toney to the chin.
Now, does he want to languish on the inside like this, where the shorter arm Toney can do work like that uppercut? I don't know. I think distance is better for Guinn right now. And Toney's proving it. And this is the Toney that fights off the rope so effectively.
Guinn is letting his punches go more frequently than we've seen in the recent past. He's just been so hot and cold. When he's hot, he's very good. But Toney seems content to be on the ropes here, and he may be playing a little possum.
And he's doing good work off the ropes. He's landing those little uppercuts. There's a little clubbing right hand. He's been a bit more effective in here than Dominick Guinn has.
Great body punch with the left hand by Toney, and clubbing away with the right hand.
This is not a posture for Dominick Guinn. He has a big height and reach advantage. He's got a good jab. He needs room to punch.
Now he steps back.
See, landed a right hand. Tactically, he has allowed Toney to control a lot of this round.
I think Toney watches the tapes because Guinn is susceptible to uppercuts. You know why? Because he leans in. Watch.
Exactly.
He comes in, has a habit of falling in after he throws.
And that's part of the reason why the counter rights and those uppercuts will work. The jab of Guinn has been underused so far in this fight.
And former trainer Ronnie Shields used to bust a gut when urging Guinn to throw more of that jab and to let his hands go more.
I think there's a little mouse underneath the left eye of Dominick Guinn. I'm really surprised Guinn is fighting so much on the inside against Toney. That doesn't feel right to me,
Yeah.
and Toney is doing a much better job on the inside.
Why not use his height and reach to his advantage?
Time!
Nice job.
On the inside, rough going on the inside with Toney. Now there they both kind of moved their head together, and both men created a clash of heads. Now on the inside, on the ropes, James Toney using the uppercuts very effectively and counterpunching off those ropes to both the body and the head. And he's good at this. He's always been good at it. Now, Guinn steps back to get some punching distance, which is where he should be. And even though that right didn't land perfectly, it got there. But there's the counter right hand by James Toney. Is he a master at throwing that punch? And that's a very key weapon for him.
And we talked about Joe Guinn being one of the best trainers going today. How about Toney's trainer, Freddie Roach, who's built a bigger name as a trainer than he did as a boxer. One of the finest, fiercest fighters never to win a world title. He's coached some of the biggest characters in the game, including Mike Tyson. Toney is a character, but not in a negative or self-destructive sense. He's more theatrical in a Max Baer sort of way, don't you think?
Good analogy.
Kind of a throwback.
Yeah, maybe a little more harsh than Max, but yeah, you're right. Now there's Guinn ripping with that right hand. We've not seen a straight right too much from him either. And remember, he talked about throwing lots of punches no matter where they landed. He's not thrown with that kind of abandon yet. Oh, nice clubbing right by Toney. And I'm not sure to this point, Steve, that Toney hasn't impressed Dominick Guinn with his power a little bit, which is part of the reason why Guinn's a little bit more timid.
Yeah, a little reluctant, a little reserved to let it go. Toney's such a different person now. He just brings a totally different mentality into the past. Nice right as he was going backwards by Toney.
The fascinating thing to me is, you know, I did so many of James Toney's fights where he would lay on the ropes for 8, 9, 10 rounds, counterpunch a guy, be almost a stationary kind of Pillsbury doughboy. Now, even at these bigger weights, he's in the middle of the ring throwing lots of punches. And that's fascinating to me. You'd think he would have done that, 40 pounds ago when he was lighter.
Past the halfway point of round 3. Well, in his earlier days, his middleweight, super middleweight days, he'd take fights off mean, he would just look totally lackluster. Conditioning was an issue.
Yep.
And you wondered if his heart was in it. But today, I don't know if it's age, maturity, a sense of urgency or what, but he is all business.
And you know, Dominick Guinn's not worked the body yet much in this fight. And if you're going to make things happen against a 37-year-old who's packing extra weight, you better work the body early. Instead, he's allowed Toney on the inside to do this excellent work and languished in there. I don't know if that's good for Dominick Guinn. I don't think it is.
Guinn takes another step back.
Don't hold.
Throws a combination on the inside and then fights from close range.
Yeah, you see how good Toney. Yeah, it's very obvious that James Toney, with those short arms, the quick hands on the inside, this is his place to be.
Oh, there's a wet, beautiful left hand by Toney upstairs. Another one, and he's landing.
Why Dominick Guinn's not giving himself more punching room, I don't know. And Toney's actually doing more work to the body.
Go, time.
Good round for James Toney.
Equal. Yeah, swing, Joseph. Hi, James. Work off those ropes. Nice shots. If you're turning out those shots, you're going to find yourself right in a better position, okay? Right. It's real nice body work. Keep working that body when you come back to the head from you, okay? All right?
So here's the other brother, the promoter of James Toney, Dan Guinn, the brother of Guinn's trainer, Joe Guinn.
And I've known the Guinns for, 20-some years. There's 8 brothers in the family. They're as competitive as they get. So, believe me, they want to get their job done. But when it's done, they'll be the closest of friends again.
They all played roller hockey as kids. They were competitive then. They're competitive now.
Their dad literally took a wall out so they'd have room to do it in the house. You know, this fight, it's been an active fight. And, of course, in comparison to the previous one, very much active. But strategically, you know, I said in the keys for Toney not to stay on the ropes. And that I did that under the supposition that Guinn would be at long range peppering him with jabs and straight right hands. What's happened is when Toney has retreated to the ropes, Guinn has followed him too closely there and given Toney a chance to do this kind of stuff. See, Guinn needs to step back now. And why he isn't, I don't know.
So in other words, what you're saying is your keys to victory are being fouled up because Guinn's not doing the right thing.
Exactly. I hate when these fighters do that.
I hate when that happens.
But look at how well Toney can counter when you're on the inside. Now, from distance, let's see if Guinn functions better.
Didn't you also say that Guinn should work the body?
Yes, and that, of course, he has not done early in this match. And when Toney's in this posture, he can do it. Now, at 37 and at his highest weight, will James Toney fade a bit in this fight? Will he be less active as we go on? That's maybe one thing that Guinn would be hoping, but right now, look at what James Toney's doing.
Barrage by Toney. Wait a minute, 37, that's young today in the heavyweight.
Yeah, you're right. He's a whippersnapper.
We would be young if we were in the heavyweight.
Well, I got carried away. Maybe you would. I don't know.
Chance of Toney ring out. That's certainly better than what was ringing out in the first fight.
Well, he's fighting very well, and Dominick Guinn's helping him out by languishing on the inside like this. Now, Guinn is being somewhat active. It's not that he's not throwing some punches. It's just he's doing it in a posture that isn't his forte. And again, nothing downstairs. He should be ripping hooks and right hands Guinn to the body. And he can do it. He's a very good body puncher, Dominick Guinn. He really is.
Holding.
Best line of the night offered up by Jay Nady, the referee here. All right, don't touch gloves.
You know, James Toney's fought 12 former or current world champions in 4 weight division during his long career. He's seen everything in that boxing ring, and that experience is a monstrous help to him, especially against a fighter like Guinn, who's not seen that kind of competition.
Yeah, James Toney with the huge advantage in experience, of course, and quality of opposition.
What round is this here? I know you feel good, right?
5.
Okay. You feel real good? Because I'll tell you what, if you get a little distance, he's not going to touch you. Okay, if you're going to lay on him, you got to do what I tell you. Okay, you got to maneuver him, you got to whip him. Let's not have all this work go to waste. You got to maneuver.
They are so close here, as you see this box. Look at how they are right next to each other, and they're going to stay in this box. Not much distance when they're on the inside. And that is not working for Dominick Guinn.
That was better than Little House on the Prairie. That was great.
Should have drawn a chimney on top, I think.
How about, yeah, that's right. How about Joe Guinn? First thing he said to Dominick Guinn, you feeling all right? And then he said, you got to give yourself a little distance. This is exactly what you've been saying. You can't win on the inside with this guy.
And he said, if you're going to get on the inside to lay there, you got to listen to what I'm doing. You've got to rip shots, especially to the body. You know what James Toney brings to the heavyweight division, and we're seeing it even against a heavyweight that has some pretty good hand speed. He punches quicker than other heavyweights, and that's an issue.
I know, but try to keep your head away from this.
I'm looking at James Toney, and honestly, I'm going back in my brain. I'm still amazed. He's standing there as a heavyweight fighting against these guys and looking good.
A guy who started out at 160 and has won 3 world titles in lower divisions. He did win the WBA heavyweight title, then was stripped of it for the drugs and steroids as you look at press row scoring. And it's all for Toney, but pretty close.
Have given them all of the rounds.
Is that right? They all had it by 2 points. Alon Hayem, who is the assistant to Joe Guinn, was telling me the other day at the press conference that sparring partners were lined up in Dominick Guinn's gym for free to help him beat James Toney, which is kind of a statement on James, but you know what? I like him. I like James. The fighters don't seem to, but
well, he's very outspoken, you know.
No question.
And he's had his share of little tiffs all around, but he marches to the beat of his own. He marches to the beat of his own drummer, and he does what he wants in life.
But I think a lot of that is shtick.
Well, the portion of it certainly. Good left hook by Dominick Guinn. Now, Earl Guy's throwing that punch and using it somewhat effectively.
You're holding his arm. Thank you.
Well, that was nice. James Nady told Dominick Guinn you're holding his arm, and he released himself, and then he got James's attention with a nice right hand.
Holding. You're holding.
I just don't know if Dominick Guinn can win this fight on the inside. And maybe he can as this fight goes on. He's certainly been more active. He's taken Joe Guinn's advice, and when he is on the inside, he is being more active.
Hand upstairs by Toney.
Now, Dominick Guinn has never been down. Never been down as a pro. So he's been hit by Sergey Lakovich and a few other big punchers. So it's not like he's going to fall down from getting hit by a punch.
Well, this is certainly the most active he's been in a while. He was lethargic against a one-dimensional fighter, Friday Ahunanya.
Don't holding.
He didn't look good against Sergey Lakovich and, as we said earlier, Monty Barrett. Originally lost to Hasim Rockman.
We're going to get him. Did any of those shots, did you feel any of those? Nothing. Take a couple deep breaths through your mouth. Through your nose, I'm sorry. Okay, now, a little bit better. You keep going to that left uppercut, but bring the chop right hand right behind it, okay? If you lead right hand on them, you're going to get hit with that counter right hand, okay? You can't. I told you what to do. Throw the jab, feint that right, and let them counter you with that left. And then you counter with that left hook. You got to get trickier now. You got to let your hands go more. You got to start sneaking down to the body from the outside. Okay? You do that, and we got this fight in the back. Now, I'll tell you what. You probably got a couple rounds here. He's got a couple rounds here. I'll tell you what. This is where we need to use our conditioning. Our conditioning. Do you understand? Okay. Here we go.
There may be nobody better at dissecting a fight and breaking it down as a trainer than Joe Guinn.
Yeah, and he's very calm in the corner, and he's very precise, and that's one of his
strengths.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest problem here tonight for Guinn, although he's been more active than usual, is that he's been fighting too much on the inside, not doing the right things when he's on the inside. And you got to remember, he's going up against a guy, James Toney, who is a terrific fighter from close quarters.
Now, there's a double left hook from Guinn. It's the punch you have to throw against Toney. And in recent years, Tony's been hit with that punch a little bit more. In the old days, it was still hard to even hit him with that.
That was the best sequence of the night for Guinn.
But again, here's Guinn languishing on the inside. Look at the jab. See that? When he's got some distance, that can work. So let's make no mistake. From the outside, Tony's been pretty good as well.
Holding. Thank you.
And Tony's such a precise body puncher. And he prefers a guy coming at him.
Yeah.
So he can counterpunch.
Absolutely.
And Guinn's answering. James Toney.
I tell you what, though, this is good action on the inside. It's enjoyable to watch some very good inside fighting by both these men.
Look at these shots by Toney, and he's on the ropes.
He's just good at this. He's been good at it for 15 years or more.
We said he's the consummate pro. You just always see he's so intelligent, so crafty. Look at these shots to the head and to the body by Toney.
And this is a posture for Dominick Guinn. It's not the place where he normally would be. He can fight on the inside some, but much more effective on the outside using his height and reach.
So Toney really picking up the pace here. Has the higher work rate, and his punches are accurate.
That was low, Dominick.
He doesn't waste his punches, I'll say that. He's economical.
See, Guinn's laying on him, but not doing it. And it's always Toney that's able to get something done at this juncture. The uppercuts, the chopping right hands, and the same punches are landing over and over again.
And you got to wonder if this is wearing Guinn out for the later rounds. I mean, Toney's got some heavy hands, and he's using them right here. 2 overhand rights.
Normally, if you would smother a fighter like this, it would work to your benefit, but not when it's James Toney. He's so adept at fighting off those ropes.
He's got underrated hand speed.
Yes. Oh, and especially in the heavyweight division, where he's certainly the quicker of most of the fighters he's going to face.
And that's what makes a possible matchup with Guinn intriguing.
And remember, Freddie Roach said to us the other day, no work with weights for this fight. He said your attribute is hand speed. Now, there's a little blood from the mouth for James Toney now.
But he's getting them in. Left uppercut. Nailing him with everything.
What punch hasn't James Toney thrown? It's been a variety of shots.
Shown his entire arsenal here.
Time!
Oh, shit.
Deep breath.
What Dominick Guinn needs to do is get these left hooks in. Now, they weren't fantastic punches, but they worked. And they pushed James Toney back. But when they're in this posture, James Toney has better hand speed. He's a more skilled inside fighter. And he will come at you with a variety of different punches to both the body and the head. And whether Guinn shakes his head or not that it hurt him, the fact is Toney is landing repeatedly with these shots and has been very, very effective on the inside.
You picked up on the blood. It appears as if Toney is bleeding in the mouth.
Center, please.
And we begin round 7. It's scheduled for 12 for a fringe heavyweight title, currently owned by Toney. But he wants the real one.
Now, Toney using his jab, and he's used that punch for the most part. We may realize at the end of this fight that James Toney's thrown as many or more jabs than Dominick Guinn, and that's not a good sign for Guinn. Oh, beautiful double left hook on the inside by Guinn. It's exactly what he needs more of. If he's going to languish on the inside, he's got to rip left hooks to the body and the head to James Toney. It's the only way to beat him on the inside.
Let go. You're holding. Okay, thank you.
So the left hook has been the best weapon of Guinn. He's got tools, but it's his temperament that's been a question. At times just too laid back. And it's probably more mental than physical with Dominick.
Now, he says he's been sparring on some days up to 14 rounds. Joe Guinn, oh, that beautiful double left hook.
Oh, and a right uppercut by Toney.
Joe Guinn, a trainer who one of his strengths is conditioning his fighters. They are always in great condition, and that was one of the areas that Guinn was lacking in.
And one of the reasons Corrales had such success back in May.
Precisely. James Toney a moment ago threw a right to the body and a right uppercut, a combination not too many fighters throw, and you see everybody, all three of the press row scorers, going for James Toney, and I also have James Toney ahead in this fight.
I mean, this is really a huge fight for Guinn. A victory, he's back in the mix. A loss, and he goes to the back of the line. In a wide-open heavyweight division, I mean, it's there for the calling.
Now, this has been a little bit better round for Dominick Guinn. And look at it. If he uses that left hand continually on the inside, he's able to make some things happen.
Toney really scoring with that uppercut. There's a slapping right hand that connected by Toney to the chin. Then the left hook, followed by a right. All Toney. Toney having success fighting off the ropes. Guinn missing with the right, a chopping right, but a grazing, glancing blow. Had no effect whatsoever on Toney.
Don't hold your elbow on his head.
Guinn just continues to come into Toney's office, and he is paying the price.
You're holding, you're holding.
Now, in this round, Guinn has been more active, but is he winning the round? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I just think Toney is landing more punches and effective.
Time!
This fight and the story of this fight has been the distance or lack of distance between the two fighters. And on the inside, James Toney, especially fighting off the ropes, is able to land a variety of punches like that left hook you just saw. Left hooks, uppercuts, body punches. That's an impressive array of punches James Toney is landing. This is a place where he is very accustomed to fighting. And he throws creative combinations, the right to the body and right to the head. Not too many fighters will throw that. And you see the hand speed of James Toney during this montage. This has been a fight fought at close quarters with Toney on the ropes. That's not a good recipe for success for Dominick Guinn.
Let's go. Come on. Take him to school, Tom. Take him to school. Every round. Out of there.
As we go into round 8, scheduled for 12. James Toney clearly in the lead. But Dominick Guinn looking better than he has in the last few fights.
And facing even better competition, although Sergey Lakovic, certainly a good fighter when he faced him. But, you know, he's in against arguably one of the 1 or 2 or 3 best heavyweights out there. The clubbing right hand, oh, look at the uppercuts by Toney. And now he's talking to Joe Guinn in the corner. Yeah. And, of course, they know each other very well.
Well, you know what? Obviously, the heavyweight division needs to be livened up, and this may be the guy to do it. James Toney.
He's certainly not a shrinking Violet.
Although his trunks are not shrinking, but violent.
You can see that James Toney much more experienced and, of course, a great deal of success after the 7th round. So many of his fights have gone the distance, and obviously, for the most part, he's been very successful. When Guinn has underachieved his 12-rounders. Well, now Toney is being the showman, landing a right hand and then looking away.
Remember the Holyfield fight? He kept looking at the judge. He wanted to make sure the judge saw that punch.
Not content to leave the commentary to us, is he?
Exactly.
Now, he's performing very well. The only thing Dominick Guinn can take solace from, maybe, and I'm saying maybe, of course, is that the work rate of Toney will slow because of his age, because of the extra weight, but he shows no sign of it, and you have to think he won't.
Just popping punches off Guinn's head. Perhaps that's one thing in the back of Guinn's mind to get this fight as deep as possible and hope that conditioning and age will take its course against Toney.
The problem is that Dominick Guinn, even in this posture, isn't ripping the body of Toney. He's not really making him pay. And so, there's not a lot of reason to think Toney will slow down.
Family members of James Toney emblazoned on his trunks.
I think Dominick Guinn has chosen strategically the wrong approach. He's on the inside, and it's negated his jab and his straight right hand that could help set up a better left hook. Instead, he's fighting Toney's fight. He really is.
And Joe Guinn is telling him that. I mean, he's instructing him the correct way. It's just going to sink in better. There's a nice right hand by Toney upstairs.
They want more distance, and Guinn just isn't giving it to him. And it's Guinn's choice. He's making a choice here. But part of that is, I think, even at long range, you see James Toney's effective with his jab and some of the other combinations he's throwing.
Again, Dominick Guinn is playing Toney's game, and he just stares him down. Well, he touched gloves with the ref.
Nice shot. I'm not finishing with the hook on. Beautiful.
Well, James Toney is an intriguing individual, make no mistake about that. First of all, he's a talented fighter, and he shows that at the beginning. Now, he's talking to the crowd, and then while he's talking to the folks at ringside, he decides, I'm going to throw a combination and land. And, there are not too many people that can do this. He's chatting, and Dominick Guinn's not making him pay, and then Toney rips shots on the inside. That's a nice combination, and takes time to look at Jane 80, looking for a comment, perhaps.
Then he shook his hand. Still talking. He is a showman. Little wink, and he's ready to continue. Round 9 comes running out from the corner.
Explain to me, as they will look at the tape and the gloves, how James Toney can be at his all-time high weight.
No coaching, please.
230.
Be a heavyweight and be more active. Now, part of it is no injuries. He's feeling okay about himself. But you look at him, that's an active guy who's weighing more than he's ever weighed.
7 years older.
7 years older than his opponent, and he's the guy that's more active.
Wait a minute, maybe he's really is 27. He told you in the interview he's 27, not 37.
You're right, I doubted him. Let's take a look at that birth certificate.
He has found the fountain of youth.
Just a very nice effort by James Toney. It really is. And you know what makes it even better? It's fashioned on the inside when Guinn does that, and it's fashioned in the center of the ring with jabs and body shots and uppercuts and all the rest.
He is just brimming with confidence right now, Al. He's flicking that jab.
And Dominick Guinn has fallen into that I'm not going to punch too much syndrome that he's gotten in before. That right hand may have shook Dominick Guinn.
And now he throws a whole mess of punches, and he's yelling something at somebody in the crowd.
For the first time, we saw Dominick Guinn hold on.
And that's a sign. Here it is again.
You're grabbing. You're holding.
Jane 80 says, stop holding.
Stop!
You're right, we haven't seen that many clinches.
Very disappointing at this moment for Dominick Guinn. He's 1-2-1 in his last 3 fights. He had been, a heavyweight prospect that everybody thought had the potential to move way up in the heavyweight rankings, and the last couple of years have not gone well for him.
Well, he was a hot prospect early on. He beat Michael Grant in spectacular fashion, big guy. He beat Duncan Dokawari.
Yeah, also a big guy.
Big guy, and then just the about face, the Monty Barrett fight. Look at Toney go to work here.
That's superb boxing. I mean, good combinations. This is what separates Toney from the other heavyweights. He is a very, very skilled fighter.
Stop!
Well, he's certainly winning this crowd over. Very popular as Toney continues to lead on the press row scorecards.
surprised at Charles Presnell's scorecard. Only a 2-point margin for Toney. That's a little surprising to me. Good body shot. You know, we talked about Guinn wanting to work the body to slow Toney down for the later rounds. He wasn't able to do it. Instead, it's been Toney who's been very effective to the body.
Who do you think the average person off the street considers the heavyweight champion of the world?
Wow, that's a tough question. The linear one, if you will, is Vitaly Klitschko.
You're holding.
And maybe within the boxing circles, more people than not might think of him, but the average person, I don't know. It's not Joe Louis, is it? No. Okay.
Or Lennox Lewis, for that matter.
Right.
What's the solution? I mean, is it an activity amongst the top guns?
Yeah, I think in this division, good right hand by Toney. In this division, the matchups mean everything now. And we're looking at a guy right here who you could match with almost anybody and make a very interesting fight right now. And that, of course, is James Toney.
But the promoters and the politics of the sport have to stay out of the way to let that happen.
And they have in most of the other weight divisions.
Right. Interested spectator fought earlier tonight. Chris Burr, the IBF heavyweight champ, who defeated DeVarrell Williamson by unanimous decision. Again, hearing the boo birds from the crowd as the fans see his image on the big screen.
James, put the combination together, it's over, okay? Now here, you let a beautiful right uppercut. Come back and look for me and then put me to sleep, okay? All right? Now pay attention, all right? You're fighting a great fight out there, all right? Show me your skills, put the combinations together. How do you feel, son? You look great. You look great. Deep breath. Okay.
Encouraging words from Freddie Roach to James Toney. You look great.
What else is there for him to say? He's doing everything right. You know, I understand the fans booing Chris Burr, and I understand they didn't like the effort. I just feel bad because he's such a quality guy, and you feel bad he has to endure that, but the performance of that fight created that.
He is, and so was his opponent, DeVarrell Williamson, a very quality individual, and you kind of feel bad for them. That lackluster fight took place.
Let go. Stop.
So round 10 continues.
You know, James Toney in this fight, interestingly, has, as we mentioned before, has shown us two different dimensions, and it's very impressive, especially in the heavyweight division, because he's fought off the ropes, he's counterpunched, and then in the center of the ring, he's been very, very effective with his jab against a fighter who has a height and reach advantage over him. So, as we've said, those two dimensions, very impressive for James Toney.
Toney continues to look the spire of the two. Great right uppercut on the chin by Toney.
He certainly enlivened this crowd, and appropriately so. And it's been a textbook effort. You know, Freddie Roach had nothing to say to James Toney in between the rounds other than you're fighting a great fight. And it's rare that a trainer has only that to say to a fighter. And for Dominick Guinn, part of the problem is now he's in the later rounds, a place he hasn't always excelled, in against a 37-year-old who just isn't stopping. He's continuing to punch and continuing to do exactly what he needed to do. If there was a statement to be made here, James Toney's really making it with this performance. He said, I'm healthy for the first time. I'm ready to, since the Holyfield fight to a great extent, and he's shown it.
And apparently timeout, hang on 1 second. Problem with the tape on the right glove of Dominick Guinn. And the thing is, it doesn't seem to matter as far as the spare tire around Toney's midsection. He still seems to be in very good condition. And as you pointed out, he seems very healthy, which are contributing factors to his performance here tonight.
And, let's make no mistake about it. Dominick Guinn has reached the status of kind of a fringe heavyweight, but a fringe heavyweight with a lot of ability, who has had his excellent moments.
Big right hand there by Toney to the head of Guinn. No knockdowns in this fight. As Al pointed out, Gwynn's never been down. Toney's been down a couple of times in his career.
in round 10 throwing combinations, and there aren't too many that do that on a regular basis. Very, very few. You know, one that did, even though he's not maybe the great fighter, we enjoyed Owen Beck when he was on this network fighting and throwing a lot of combinations.
What the heck? So we head to the final seconds of round 10. Another impressive one for James Toney against Dominick Guinn.
Stop time.
Next Saturday will be the rematch of the fight many are calling the fight of the decade. This is one you don't want to miss.
On October 8th, it's the rematch of the greatest lightweight fight ever. Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo. Their first bout was an epic war.
What a left hook by Castillo!
The fight of the millennium.
What a combination by Corrales!
One of the greatest fights of all time.
Unbelievable action!
Can you handle it again? Corrales versus Castillo 2 plus more. Saturday, October 8th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order. Where will you be when history repeats itself?
I cannot wait for that fight a week from tonight. It's not only that fight, but it's a really excellent card.
Oh, fantastic. Jorge Arce and Hussein in a rematch of what was a fight that was, while it wasn't fought on the same level as Corrales and Castillo, was terrific. So that card is going to be fantastic. And anybody who's a boxing fan just has to be looking forward to it so much.
A week from tonight on Showtime pay-per-view, the rematch between Diego Corrales and Jose Luis Castillo, a rematch of one of the great fights that you'll ever see. Round 11, championship rounds. And James Toney has put on a nice show here tonight.
He sure has. And there have been many elements to this that he can take away and be happy about. The fact that he's fought in the center of the ring, he's fought off the ropes, he's used a complete arsenal of punches, and he has never slowed down. And that's a very important point, because when you're 37, coming off a couple of injuries, you're weighing more than you've ever weighed, people are going to ask those questions. He's answered them. You know, he's different than all other fighters. You can't go by the normal signs with him. You really can't.
Different is the operative word. Here's a look at the championship rounds. He's got the experience, doesn't he? Title rounds, how about that? 18 to zip.
Things went south on Dominick Guinn about the third or fourth round when he started languishing on the inside with Toney, took a lot of punishment, never quite got his game plan going.
I mean, just nobody better using the angles, turning his body, rolling his shoulders, shifting, sidestepping. That's James Toney. He's cute in that he turns his shoulder, he blocks punches, shoots the counter.
And the other thing we've learned about James Toney as a heavyweight is that he has a very good chin. You know, Holyfield hit him with some pretty good shots. Even John Ruiz, who has knocked down some heavyweights, even though he's not a monstrous puncher, hit him with some good shots. Toney's not been effective. There's a scoring. You see a wide margin in press row scoring for James Toney, and I agree with it. I have it very big margin for James Toney, so I agree with that. So Toney takes a punch well, and one of the interesting things for Chris Bird as he's looking at this, if he should be the next Toney opponent or put his title on the line against Toney, Toney's not only active, he's hard to hurt, and based upon Chris Bird not being as sharp as he would like, that's a tough combination for Bird right now.
And Guinn's put himself in a position right now, Al, where he needs a knockout to win. And guess what? James Toney's never been stopped, never knocked out, never really hurt in a fight. I guess the worst he looked was against Roy Jones back in 1994. He lost by unanimous decision at 168.
Had a very hard time making that weight, as he often did during those times. Partially his own doing, of course, also.
Yeah, he was a different guy back then, mentally and physically.
You mentioned maturity. That's a key point for James Toney. Some might never put those two words in the same sentence, but really they'd be wrong, because he is matured in many different ways about this sport.
Three-time world champion in 3 different weight divisions, looking for the heavyweight title someday, and it could come soon.
Give me another drink, Jay. Okay. Deep breath, son. Come on, give me going. One more. Second. Okay.
12th round.
Okay. James, this guy's got one shot. He's gonna come after you. All right? You fight your fight. Okay? All right? Keep throwing those combinations. Keep your head good head movement. Okay? All right? Beautiful. Okay.
Do it. Not easier, but you know what? You got 3 minutes left. You got 3 minutes left. You really want it.
Well, this is it. James Toney, Freddie Roach, they know that Dominick Guinn has only one shot at winning this fight, and that's by knocking out James Toney. Well, they didn't touch gloves at the start. They do at the end.
And, you know, Freddie Roach understands his fighter. There was only one important thing for him to say. Remember to move your head, because he doesn't want James Toney getting caught with something that maybe would hurt him or put him down. He knew there was just one major important thing to say to him, and that was it. So he did. And he knows James Toney will listen.
I think the consensus is that next month Vitaly Klitschko is going to beat Hasim Rahman, and most people recognize Vitaly Klitschko as the man. How do you think Toney would do?
Well, you know, see, I believe that the big, tall heavyweights who fight tall, and Klitschko does it better than anyone, present the biggest challenge to Toney. Just getting to them is hard for him. That's his problem. How does he hit them? Big edge in the press row scoring. And you know, that's the problem for Toney. Any of the shorter heavyweights, I say he has a great chance to beat, and I would make him the favorite. Klitschko's the only one that's tough.
Okay.
Not to say he won't beat him, because I'm never going to underestimate this guy. He's doing some amazing things.
Difficult to underestimate Toney.
Yeah, it's just that's a tougher fight for him.
He continues to have his way with the younger Dominick Guinn.
You know, James Toney's been at 4 different weight divisions. I thought he was at his best as a cruiserweight. But I'll tell you what, he's fighting very well as a heavyweight, too.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Big right hand over the top by Toney. Just wailing away.
And you know, Dominick Guinn, it looks like we'll get through this fight with still not having a knockdown, though he's been hit with some very, very big and good shots by James Toney. But that's a small moral victory for Guinn.
17-year pro James lights out Toney. Final minute of the 12th round. Toney back in action, eagerly awaited return to the ring after being out 6 spots after beating John Ruiz and then having the title stripped because of the positive test for steroids.
2 years ago, when James Toney moved into the heavyweight division with that stirring performance over Evander Holyfield, he thought he would be active. The Guinns would be fought every 4 or 5 months. People like Dominick Guinn. It didn't work out that way because of the injuries. But you can feel when he's 100% the zeal he has for fighting and for the sport. And if he can stay healthy, he'll be a force. Make no mistake about it in this division.
If only he were about 10 years younger.
Yeah.
He could really dominate for years to come. And that's it. I heard a bell, didn't you?
Fight, over.
They kept going about 8 seconds more.
I don't think Jay Nady heard the bell for some reason.
And that's it. This one in the books. And the fans get an opportunity to stand and applaud, which is obviously something they couldn't do in the first fight.
A lot of activity in this fight, and even though Dominick Guinn didn't do the kind of performance he wanted, he was active and did try.
Well, they kept going. It extended past the final bell. Check this out.
Fight's over.
Hey guys, the fight's over. It's been over for a while.
Nobody told us.
Well, that's more of what James Toney is all about. Just keeps on fighting. He's got a lot of fight left in him, doesn't he?
Really a superb performance by James Toney on every level. And even though there might have been some failings with Guinn, this man performed well.
Able to get back on track following all the controversy after the John Ruiz fight back in April. A disappointed look on the face of Dominick Guinn. Total opposite. for James Toney, who's able to let out a nice smile, takes care of business against unrated Dominick Guinn, just as he was expected to do. But a dominating performance, and now once again sets his sights on the big prize, the heavyweight title.
And I think more than anything, it was the nature of the performance of James Toney that made this even a more special victory.
All right, let's get the word from our ring announcer, Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, the judges are in agreement. We have a unanimous decision. Judge at ringside, Keith McDonald, scores about 117 to 111. Judges Dalby Shirley and Paul Smith both scored about 119 to 109. All three in favor of the winner. And still the IBA heavyweight champion, James Lights Out Toney.
Well, lights out, lights up this crowd here at the Reno Event Center. They love him. His promoter, Dan Guinn, and in some ways, I guess a little bittersweet. His brother has to lose as the trainer for Dominick Guinn, but he's happy as his man wins. So Toney lifts his record to 69-4-2 with the 1-no contest, unbeaten his last 16. Guinn slips to 25-3-1. Let's go up to the ring and Jim Gray. Jim.
D-Block, Detroit.
All right, James, congratulations tonight.
What's cracking, baby?
Hey, did you benefit quite a bit that he elected to fight you on the inside?
Oh, I love that. You know, that's what I love to do. That's down and dirty. Jim Gray, what's happening?
Were you surprised that he didn't try and use his size and back up, and you were able to control the fight the entire night?
Well, you know, if he's going to try to run the stick and move tactics, you know, everybody don't think I can do a movement. I like that. It's like a chase, like a cat mouse game. So I'm ready for anything. You know, I'm a little rusty because this is only my third fight in the last 4 years. I've been sidelined with injuries. People been writing me off, but you know what? Now I'm healthy. This is my first fight. I'm really healthy, but I got to fight again. I'm gonna fight again next month.
Who are you going to fight next month?
I don't care anybody. I might fight you.
Well, that'd be a pretty easy payday, and I don't think many would pay to have that. Is it simply a matter of health for you, James? Because tonight was a very good performance, and we've seen you perform well when you have been healthy.
Well, I give myself a B minus tonight because, like I said, I've been rusty. My weight kind of high.
B minus. What didn't you like?
Well, my weight was a little heavy. My movement wasn't great. My right hand was a little sloppy, but you know, like I said, it comes with my timing. I stay more active. I'll get a lot better.
Did you watch the first fight with Chris Bird?
Come on, Jim, I fell asleep. I mean,
so did most of us. So would you want to fight him now, or would you elect to go in the direction of the Klitschko-Rockman winner?
Well, I'll fight anybody. Klitschko, the Klitschko brothers, Rockman, Brewster, Bird. I'm the man. Y'all got to come see me to make some money. That's the bottom line right there.
If you had your choice, what would the order be?
Oh, Klitschko, because y'all think he's the best.
And do you think he's the best?
No, I'm the best.
I mean the best of your opponents, of an opponent out there.
I think Rockman's a little bit better, but you know what? Time will tell. I'm ready for anybody. I'm coming. I'm the man in the heavyweight division. If y'all want to get the belt, y'all come see me.
James, congratulations.
Yeah. D-Block. Yeah. Well,
thank you. Let's go back to you, Steve.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that James Toney's in a pretty good mood.
He certainly is. Interesting evaluation of B- of his performance. And I like hearing him say he'd like to get his weight down a little bit. It would help him because it's all about speed for him. That was an excellent performance. And one of the things that made it excellent, we saw a heavyweight throw combinations and be active throughout a fight.
Yeah.
So will we see the two guys from Michigan, Toney and Bird, who've been at each other's throats for years, early next year? Or maybe Toney versus Vladimir Klitschko? We'll have to wait and see. Let's check out the scoring for Toney versus Guinn. The official judges saw it this way. Keith McDonald had Toney up by 6. Dalby Shirley had Toney winning by 10 points, and Paul Smith the same, 119 to 109. So a convincing victory for James Toney without question. And let's take a look at the press row scores. Tim Dahlberg from the AP had Toney winning 118 to 110. Mike Hauser from the Ring Magazine 119 109, and Charles Presnell from BoxingTalk.com 117 111. For this man, James Lights Out Toney. Final comments, Al?
Well, I'd like to see James Toney in against any of the heavyweight champions. The Chris Bird fight would be intriguing. Layman Brewster would be fascinating. And I'd like to see him stay active, as he said, even if there's a fight in between, gets his weight down. This guy's a force in the heavyweight division and maybe the best technician in the division.
At the age of 37 years young.
It's astonishing.
As we wind things down from Reno, Nevada, let's take a final look at tonight's results. In our co-feature, a yawner, Chris Bird, came back from the 11-month layoff, retained his IBF heavyweight title at the expense of 37-year-old Devarro Williamson, a fight that was booed by the fans for most of the night for being lackluster. And in our main event, as you just saw, James Toney jump back to his winning ways after the mess with John Ruiz, able to turn away Dominick Guinn. Toney now looking for bigger and better things as he focuses in on another heavyweight title opportunity. Remember, 1 week from tonight, where will you be when history is made for the second time in 5 months? Showtime Pay-Per-View presents the rematch of the fight of the decade, Corrales versus Castillo 2. If you ever see another fight again, this is the one. So for Al Bernstein.